A very good afternoon to all of you. Namaskar, Adab. God bless all of you. What a pleasure it is to be here once again in Dubai. I came here 20 years ago. In between, I used to hop in and out of the airport, not to Dubai, but it's changed quite a lot in the past 20 years. And when this offer came to me to come here and have an interaction with all of you, I thought I'll take this opportunity. Now I'm assuming most of you are from Kerala, is that right? Anyone from UP? That's where I come from, but you must have heard about UP in Kerala because UP is a well-known state in India. So what I try and do today is share my thoughts and my experience in the journey as a civil servant, as also to convey to you what can a civil servant do in India, and if you do want to become a civil servant, what could possibly be the way that you could become a civil servant? And finally, irrespective of whether you become a civil servant or not a civil servant, you can serve the nation, the society, the world at large, if you equip yourself in a manner that you are able to deliver what you want to deliver. So it's not material whether you do become a civil servant. What is most important is whether you become a person to be reckoned with, a person who can deliver things. So whatever I'm going to tell you now is not merely relevant in the context of civil service. Yes, indeed it is, but much beyond it. In the context of what each individual can do to his family, his country, the world at large. I became a civil servant, and I'm so glad that lady there, she understood the difference between the IS and the civil service, and she pointed out very correctly, IS is one of the premier civil services in the country. There are many more civil services, like the Indian Foreign Service, as she pointed out, the Indian Forest Service, Indian Revenue Service, Indian Police Service, many more services through which public service is delivered in India. But so far, Indian Administrative Service is considered to be one of the best. Now, I became an IS officer because my dad wanted me to become an IS officer. When I was 10 years of age, I saw a piece of paper in which he had charted out what I would be studying, what will I do to become an IS officer. My father fulfilled the dream of his father, that's my grandfather's. My grandfather wanted him to become an engineer, and my father wanted me to become an IS officer, and I made his dream into my dream and became an IS officer. I spent 37 years as an Indian Administrative Service officer, after which I discovered that if I were to be born again, I'd like to be an IS officer all over. And there must be good reason. You know, when I wrote this book, Not Just a Civil Servant, in the first chapter I write why I became an IS officer. And in the last chapter I write why would I want to become an IS officer all over again. This is because the enormous opportunities that this service provides to do good to people, and not only good people, but everyone. That's the phenomenal opportunity. And I'll just give you an instance. There are a huge number of instances that I've quoted in my books, all 3 books, but I think one instance I'd like to quote to you just to illustrate and demonstrate what an IS officer can do. You know, I was posted as Director General Labour Welfare in the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. And the government decided to launch a health insurance scheme for the poorest of the poor. I mean, since you all have come from India, you would know how difficult life it is for the poor people in the country. So the government decided in its wisdom to come up with a health insurance scheme for the poorest of the poor, but the details were not known about the scheme. I was in the Ministry of Labour at that point in time, little realizing that ultimately a person who was in labour, and pun is intended here, to deliver a scheme called Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. So we worked out the details. Initially we had a lot of problems, as it is true of any scheme that is made in the government. Initially there are problems, but gradually that scheme came to be recognized world over as one of the finest schemes of the world. The Indian International Labour Organization, the United Nations Development Program, the World Bank, all recognize this scheme as one of the finest schemes in the world. And around that time, Mr. Obama took over as President of the US. And as you are aware, that the insurance scheme in the US is having a lot of problems. At that time also it had problems. So one of the advisors of Obama rang me up. He asked me, Mr. Swarup, can you come over to the US and make a presentation on your scheme? So I wanted to wriggle out because, India is a different context. What can I tell to the US? But he insisted that you should come over and make a presentation. We'd like to learn from what you're doing. So I used to travel to Washington as for interaction with the World Bank. In one of those visits, I was invited by the team of Obama to an institute called Brookings Institute. It houses the advisors of Obama. I went there and made a presentation on this health insurance scheme. And during that presentation, there were representatives from the US government, from our own mission in the US, and there were also representatives of foundations like Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation. Have you heard of Gates Foundation, any of you? You heard of Gates Foundation? These are foundations which give a lot of money to poor countries for helping them. So I made this presentation, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. And after this presentation, I came out and I was having a cup of coffee. Now this gentleman from Gates Foundation walked up to me and asked me, Mr. Swarup, you are so passionate about the scheme. What does the government give you beyond your salary to be so passionate? Many of you are sitting here, some of you are very passionate about what you do. Others take it easy. It's absolutely personal. You do what you think, what is correct, what is helping you out, what you feel good about. So he asked me this question, why are you so passionate about the scheme? So I asked him a counter question. I asked him, Gates Foundation gives millions of dollars to poor countries, what do you get out of it? He said, well, that's a job, but more than that, we derive a lot of satisfaction out of helping the poor. I said, you answered your own question. This scheme, RSPY, is meant for the poorest of the poor, many of whom would have been dead but for this scheme. So those that survived, they and their families, the good wishes of these people come back to me somehow, anyhow. That's good enough a kick for me to do what I am doing. My friend, this scheme was impacting 350 million people in the country. And the amount of sense of satisfaction that you derive out of helping the poorest of the poor is absolutely unparalleled. I can't think of anything. I call it in my book probably the finest service in the world because it gives you that opportunity. So I gave an example to this gentleman from Gates Foundation. I narrated him a small story, a personal experience. In this scheme, I used to visit these small hospitals that were empaneled. Hospitals were empaneled for providing medical services. So in one of the visits to these hospitals, I was talking to a patient. Suddenly I heard a very feeble voice from behind, very feeble. There was this very old lady who was calling me Beta Idhar. How many of you understand Hindi? I hope all of you do. All of you? Okay, thanks to Bollywood, everyone understands Hindi. Bollywood has certainly done too many things. So if you pardon me, I'll use a few Hindi phrases because sometimes translation does not carry the same impact as the original word is. I will try and translate it in English for those of you that don't understand, but you better understand Hindi because that's a lovely language like many other languages. So she was calling me Beta Idhar. So I turned around and I saw a very old lady. She could not sit. She was so old and sick. So I went to her. She was flashing the smart card. The scheme was smart card based. So I went and bent down to her. I asked her, Mother, aap theek to hai? Mother, I hope you're fine. She tells me, Beta, मैं बहुत तकलीफ में हूँ, लेकिन इन अस्पताल वालों ने मेरा बड़ा ख्याल रखा है. I'm fine, but I'm in pain, but these hospital people have looked after me very well. Then I said, फिर तो आप ठीक हो जाएंगे, अपने घर जाएंगे. She says, नहीं बेटा, मेरी तो उम्र इतनी हो गई, अब मैं ऊपर वाले के पास जाऊँगी. I'm so old that I'll go to the Almighty. I said, नहीं माता जी, आपकी जब इतना ख्याल रखें, नहीं बेटा, मेरा तो कोई है नहीं इस दुनिया में, ना बेटा है, ना भाई है. मैं तो भीख मांगती थी. मैं बीमार पड़ गई. मेरा पड़ोसी भी भीख मांगता था. ये झोपड़ी में रहते थे. वो मुझे यहाँ ले आया तुम्हारा स्मार्ट कार्ड देखकर. यहाँ मेरी सब सेवा कर रहे हैं. मुझसे पैसे भी नहीं मांगते, मेरे पास है भी नहीं देने को. It was an amazing discussion. I have narrated that in my book. But I insisted, nahi mata ji, aap theek ho jayenge. This carried on for 15 seconds. Then she made a very remarkable statement. She tells me, बेटा ऊपर वाले जाके एक बात जरूर कहूंगी, तुम्हारी स्कीम बहुत अच्छी है. Now my friends, I don't know whether you understand the import of the statement. In my book, I call them my Bharat Ratnas. I still get goosebumps as I narrate this story to you. Because this is the sense of satisfaction which I think the wealthiest man on the earth will never get. Until he does something selflessly. Now, I'm not trying to convey a picture that as a civil servant you have to become totally selfless. The question here is, it provides you an opportunity to increase yourself, derive that satisfaction by including others in your being, and hence derive that satisfaction out of helping people who do good. You know, I've just narrated one incident. I can go on and on. In fact, I've written 2 books on these incidents, and the 3rd book is on what others are doing, what other good work they are doing. The idea of telling you this was that those of you who do plan to become civil servants, you have huge opportunity. It's not necessary to become a civil servant, as I keep telling you. You can do good wherever you are. But in order to do good, you have to evolve as an individual to be reckoned with. You know, I end my book, the other book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, with a Urdu couplet. Those of you who understand Urdu will understand this. खुद ही कुकर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. The meaning is that you must evolve as an individual so much to be reckoned with that instead of you approaching somebody else, people approach you. You know, in 37 years as an IAS officer, I didn't have a single occasion where I had to go to any politician for any favor. Yet I got possibly the best assignment that a civil servant could dream of. I got them. Why? Because if you are efficient and honest, you are still required in the country. And that's the potential that a civil servant has. Now, I won't go into the details, many more details of what civil servant can do and cannot do. In fact, I jokingly say that IAS is perhaps the only service which allows you to be honest and thrive, be dishonest and thrive, efficient and thrive, inefficient and thrive. So it provides you that potential, the choice is yours. But don't blame others if you get caught or if you fail being on the other side of the fence. Now, let me then tell you, how did this journey, how did I get into the IAS? What are the problems that I faced? And when I look back at my life and my career, I feel that is true of any individual. You know, when I did my class 12, I had physics, chemistry, maths as my paper. Young lady, what did you have as a subject in your class 12? Sorry? Physics. No, I'm so glad her articulation is so good. You know, when I did my class 12, I could not speak or write 5 sentences in English or Hindi properly. It was so bad. Communication skills don't come so easily to you. And I was gradually discovering that if I were to give my civil service exam or probably anything else in life, I have to be able to communicate properly. I understood the importance of it, but I didn't know how to go about it. Now you have organizations like the ones that we are discussing here today, Lead IAS, who can tell you how to improve your communication skills. I wish in my time, Lead IAS, you would not have been born there, but I wish there were institutions like this where I could improve my communication skills. So I tried to do it on my own. I tried to do it. And what did I do? I'm just giving you a sample of how it happens. The point that I'm trying to drive home is, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a Maggie culture, 2-minute noodle and 2 minutes you'll become a good communicator. It doesn't. Now you see a fluent Anil Swarup speaking fluently in English. It was not so when I did in my class 12. But you can. Here is an example that you can. I did it myself, but I wish such assistance would have been available then. What I used to do was, and I tell everyone, every morning I used to pick up the editorial page of a newspaper and read it aloud. And my friends used to make fun of me. What are you doing? Reading it aloud. They used to laugh. Today I am laughing. So I used to read those papers aloud, then put the paper down, speak it out in my own words, and write down what I had read. You know, these 3 things helped me develop my communication skills. And I became a reasonably good debater, and I started representing my university. Now I'm coming to a very important point because, you know, there are youngsters sitting here, even elders sitting here. All of you would be younger to me. All are young, youngsters for me. We have this lack of confidence among ourselves. No? Sometimes we feel low, sometimes we feel down. One of the important aspects of inability to become confident is lack of communication skills. And also a lurking fear that you might commit a mistake, no? Or you might fail. Do you have this lurking fear? Sometimes and which prevents you from speaking out. Is that right? Someone said yes, you did. All of us have. I mean, I had that. I don't know. People may not appreciate what I'm saying. All of us, they have this lurking fear. Oh, I might commit this mistake. I might enter this failure. Without realizing that there isn't anybody on this earth who hasn't failed. You know, I've yet to come across a person who hasn't failed. Imagine if you keep this in your mind, that committing mistake is very natural. But successful are those that learn from those mistakes. Successful aren't those people who don't commit mistakes. Because everyone commits a mistake. You may not act because you might feel that you will commit a mistake, so you will not act. That's even worse. I am telling you this example because I went through failures after failures, mistakes after mistakes. During my career, I committed many mistakes. I ended up with many failures. But in the overall context, I think people say that I have been fairly successful. Just to give you an example, in class, after I became a reasonably good debater, I started representing my university. So I don't know how many of you have heard of IIT Kanpur? Have you heard of IIT Kanpur? Oh yes, there's so many hands. So IIT Kanpur has an annual cultural festival every year. So in one of those years, I was nominated by my college to represent in the debating team. So I went there to attend to contest in the debating competition, which was probably the toughest in the country, All India debating competition. One day before the debating competition, there was this music competition. Now I thought I was a reasonably good singer. How many of you sing? Oh, lovely, you sing? Wonderful. So, we all think that we sing. I mean, she would certainly be better than what I was. I thought I was a great singer. Each one thinks very highly of himself. So I went there, participated in the music competition without any practice. And sure enough, as soon as I started, within 15 seconds, I was booed out by 1,000 crowd. Just booed out. Has anyone been booed out at any point in time? None. You can't imagine what the feeling is. You want to hide or jump down in front of the train or somewhere. So I was totally shattered as I came out of the hall. And then I decided that I will not participate in the debating on the next day. Now one of my seniors, he came to me and asked me, my dear friend, you committed a mistake. You did not prepare for music competition and you participated in it. And you have prepared for the debate and you are not participating. What is this nonsense? Can you change the past? I said, how can I change the past? Then why are you living in the past? You know, some of us have this habit of living in the past, not coming out of it. He told me everyone commits a mistake, you learn from that mistake. But don't forego something which is your forte, which is your strength. So after a long conversation, details again in my book, I participated in the debate on the following day. The moment my name was announced, they started shouting, Gayak aa gaya, singer. They thought of yesterday, they thought the same person will give a same song. I had overcome my fears. You know, that's very important. You have to overcome your fears. You have to overcome your past. I went there and spoke. I won the first prize in the national debating competition and never looked back thereafter. But for COVID, I was traveling all over the world, in the country, talking to any audience, anywhere. That gives you enormous confidence. And what gave me confidence was the fact that everyone commits a mistake. And the fact that I should not be living in my mistake. So friends, my young friends and not so young friends, although as I said, you all are younger to me, never ever bother about failures. Never ever bother about mistakes. But don't live in those mistakes. And look for opportunities. You know, some of my friends ask me, why are you going to Dubai? Why are you associating with lead IAS? You know, that's a question many people have asked me. Because many people have approached me for this sort of a... But I chose to lead IAS. I chose to come to Dubai for a few hours for a very good reason. I had in myself a dream and understanding on what should children do. And when I associated myself in a conversation with some of the people in lead IAS, I discovered they are taking the children on the right path. And what is that path? Let me spend some time on it, because whatever little I have understood, correct me if I am wrong, my understanding of what I saw of lead IAS. My understanding is very clear. There are three basic attributes, I call them not skills, these are attributes, that each individual should try and develop right from the day you think you are ready for it. And that could be for class 5, class 6, class 7. And it's not preparing for anything, my dear friend. You are preparing a child for a life, for a successful life. And these three things are knowledge and being inquisitive, curiosity. If that curiosity is not there in the child, I think there is some problem. How do you inculcate that curiosity in that child? Because if he is curious, he will enjoy learning. If he is not curious, he will not enjoy learning. It is like a class homework given to you, mummy sitting on top and making you do the homework. It's like that. But if he is curious, then he will ask you. Now this curiosity, I found that this lead IS is attempting to inculcate that curiosity, that sense of curiosity among the youngsters. Now, it's, I'm sorry for using this imagery, but it's like an egg. When it becomes hard-boiled, you can't make omelette of it. So you have to start early, as early as you can in a child. And again, I keep saying, it's not educating him. It's not making him learn. Making him curious is a different ballgame altogether. Then he seeks knowledge rather than being given knowledge. You understand the difference between seeking knowledge and giving knowledge? Because the child is trying to understand. If someone can do that, and I found Lida does it very well, that child starts asking questions. He becomes curious. So that's one. The second is, which I mentioned earlier on, is communication skills. Communication skills doesn't merely mean my telling you what I'm telling you. Communication skills means listening, comprehension. One of the biggest factors in confidence in a child or even an adult is his ability to communicate. I don't know whether you faced that crisis. I did face during my early years of my student life. I knew what I had to say, but I didn't have words to say. You face that problem. Sometimes it's there, but you don't get the right word. You don't get the right sentence to speak out what you have to say. That is what communication skills is. There is a methodology which LEADIS adopts in terms of making a child skillful in communication. You can't imagine the confidence that a child, or for that matter even an adult, will have once he knows what he can say, once he knows he can say what he wants to say. You understand the difference between what you want to say and what you say. There is a gap between them. And it happens, it happens. Like, for example, my mother tongue was Hindi. And I was even bad at communicating in Hindi. In India, the problem is the British left English, so we have half Hindi, half English, half Malayalam, half English, or something of that sort. But we basically think in our mother tongue and speak a different language. So there is a translation mechanism going on. And that's a barrier between what you think and what you speak. Once you start, when there is a smooth flow between what you think and speak, that's you've arrived. That's when you've arrived. So communication skills, extremely, extremely important. And finally, your analytical capabilities. If you can understand these three aspects, and these could be done, as I believe that LEADIS can possibly do for you, then that's the way forward. You have to look at a child not in terms of how schooling gets done, not in terms of how it's being taught, but in terms of his enjoying to become a person that he should become, that you want your child to become. Usually, since I was school education secretary also Government of India, not for a very long time, for about 20 months, I saw school education in very close quarters, and I was aghast to see some of the things that were happening in the schools. And I don't blame the schools only, I think parents are equally responsible. The amount of pressure that the parents put on children is mind-boggling. It kills the child in a child. But unfortunately, we live in a world where we believe in competition. Everyone is competing with others, little realizing that every child is very unique. Some child may have a good handwriting, the other may have analytical skills. Every child is unique. How can he compete with others? But we make him compete. I remember when I was a child, the years that I didn't come first in class, I used to feel terrible. I can't even have words to describe it. And now in my entire, CV she read, nowhere did she say that he came first in class 5, second in class 7, did she say that? But at that point in time, he was so obsessed with coming first, it didn't make any difference whatsoever. The problem is that if you are competing with everyone else, who are you going to learn from? My suggestion is compete with yourself. Benchmark yourself and improve. And learn from others. Because if you are competing with other guy and he's competing with you, then he will not show your copy now. Everyone will keep his copy close to his chest. You won't learn from each other. The idea of understanding is learning from each other. And that is where competition kills it totally. Because you somehow trying to pull the other chap down to keep you on the top. And parents, I tell you, some of the parents I saw, I told them, please leave the child alone. I mean, if he or she doesn't, I can understand that because my parents didn't put pressure on me, but I put pressure on myself. I wanted to come first in class with absolutely meaningless exercise. I'm glad that some schools have started thinking in terms of giving grades rather than ranks. Grades is much better because you're benchmarking yourself, you're seeing which grade you are, rather than competing with others. So again, coming to my exposure to Lead IS, I had the occasion to visit Trivandrum and interact with some of the students they are teaching. I was very happy to see the approach that they have adopted. You know, I live in northern India, Delhi. I traveled down to Trivandrum to see what they're doing. And it started through a Zoom. I mean, thanks to COVID, we had a Zoom session where I interacted with some of their people. And I was impressed with the approach that they adopted. You know, in India, we have this phrase, and you may have heard it, Karmande vade karaste, ma phaleshu kadachana. You know, you have only control over your action. Results you don't know. But if your actions are correct, right, the chances are that you succeed. And that's what I found Lead IS. You know, I can go on and on. Post-retirement, the talking is the easiest thing that you got to do. Walking is difficult. Doing things on the ground is difficult. I do a lot of talking these days, and I love talking. But I'll stop here because I would like to interact with all of you. I'm sure many of you would have questions about what is happening, how is it not happening. I shoot any question under the sun, because if I don't know the answer, I'll say I don't know, because I'm not entering any exam. So that's a privilege and comfort that I have. But shoot any question that you have in mind. I'd love to answer them. Thank you very much for inviting me here. It was a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you. And the two best questions are two books here. Both books written by me. They will be autographed and given to the best questions. Ethical Dilemma of a Civil Servant and Not Just a Civil Servant. And the judges for them would be Anurup and Varun. These two will be the judges. They will decide whose question is the best or comment is the best. You can just leave it where it was. You know, sometimes if it ain't broke, why make it? It's fine, just leave it. Thank you. Yes, over to you now. Yes, I'll walk down to you.
Myself Aisha. I completed grade 12 and right now I'm doing double majors in both economics and computer science. So what my question is, from what I've come, I've related some of your parts of your life as mine. Because after 10th, it was my parents' dream for me to be a doctor. But I was not at all interested, but had to just overcome and take biomath. And with 1 year of coaching, I cleared both JEE and NEET with 67 and 50%. I mean, I qualified, but not at a good college. Right now, I'm doing double majors and working as a part-time. I worked as a part-time journalist, have taken more than 6 or 7 interviews. And what my question is, so what would you have become if you had been an IAS officer? Because what I come across, like when I joined college, my professor said, okay, you're taking an honors degree from UK. You can work in a multinational company. You can work in an AC room. Then why IAS? Why Sarkari Sevak? That's so low. I mean, panchayat. So what was your plan B if you had been in that?
First of all, let me dispel this misapprehension. There is nothing low in life. It's purely subjective. Nothing low. You know, even a sweeper is performing a brilliant job. So let's respect every profession. Those that call a job low enough is their subjective judgment. I don't even want to comment on that. That's one. If I were not to become an IAS officer, I would have become a lecturer or a professor. Because I love talking. For a professor, I could get away with only talking. As a civil servant, I had to walk away to talk. Because without doing anything on the ground, it would have sounded very vacuous that he's वैसी हवा में बात कर रहा है. But you know, if you do something on the ground, you get more conviction. But I would have been a professor or somebody if I had not been. Which I am doing right now. Post-retirement, I'm only talking, as I said. I'm lecturing around. But wonderful, keep it up. Chase your dreams. Don't get hassled about what the world is telling you. The world will keep telling you many things. Just go by what your friends, your people who are your well-wishers say, but follow your dreams. Listen to everyone. You must listen to everyone, but have your own convictions. Okay, God bless you. God bless you. Any other questions?
Why so early to start the I mean, students to be getting for IAS coaching, for after 5th or 6th or 8th. Is it okay to start after 10th or placement semester like that?
First of all, the coaching has not to be for the guys. Since you came late, I expounded on it, why early, but let me explain it to you. What I had said is not for IS only. It will help you if you want to become an IS officer. It is basically to improve your skills, your curiosity, your aptitude towards questioning people, your attitude towards learning, then your communication skills, and then your analytical skills. Yes, if you do that, you will do well in the IS, you will do otherwise also well. It's for personality development. You will gradually realize yourself, as I mentioned during my talk also, that many occasions you want to say something but you don't have the words. You understand something, you think that you understood, but you haven't really understood. So this requires comprehension, this requires expression. And early in life, because the earlier you start, it is easy to learn. For a language, the child learns a language quickly. Why? Because it's by and large a clean slate, you can write anything. With all the junk that you have these days, it becomes difficult to add on. As we say in computer language, jagaini, data full. What is it called?
Memory.
Sorry? Memory, yeah. Memory khatam ho gaya, itna. I keep forgetting things. So someone did give me an advice. He told me, don't worry. Because there's no memory left in your brain. You'll have to get out something for something to enter there, So that's what happens to a child. There is a freedom here. There is free space available which can be occupied with logic, with skills, before it gets occupied with other things that are available on the telephone these days, on the mobile phone. Okay? Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Just introduce yourself for the judges who don't give up.
My name is Shanu. I'm working in Dubai in a multinational company called Untitled. I have a question about the new technologies and new methods of learning things. Because right now, especially kids, they are learning many things from digital platforms like YouTube or Google. And what's your thought about that?
This question keeps coming to me with regard to use of technology in schooling children and education. I am personally of the view that technology is extremely useful. But I am also of the view that technology will never replace a teacher. And I hope it doesn't replace the teacher. Why? Because there is a human essence to it. That human essence cannot come in technology. But technology can be useful. I'll give you my own example. I remember when I was School Education Secretary, Government of India, someone showed me a video on Archimedes' principle. Within 1.5 minutes, I understood that principle. I remember in the school, I struggled to understand that principle. That's the power of technology, where through videos, visuals, you can understand what they want to communicate. However, it will never be able to provide that empathy, that human touch, that human relationships. They will never come from technology. So you cannot absolutely dissociate. There has to be a combination. The teacher should use technology to make learning a pleasurable experience. So you're using technology by the teacher. You're not replacing the teacher. There has been a talk about replacing the teacher, but I have personally opposed it because physical interaction is totally different. It's like during COVID, you had only virtual interaction. Was that better or the interaction like this is better? Nothing. It can't be replaced. I used to do 2 webinars every day. Very convenient. Gradually, within a year, everyone got bored of my face and the technology. But talking this way, you can go on and on. You can have discussion. So technology is extremely relevant, but it cannot replace it. I hope I have answered your question.
You have answered partially. I was also asking about books, the physical books.
Okay, you didn't mention physical books. Now, physical books, maybe. Right now, they are value adding to the books through digital codes in the book, and they are value adding to the book. Maybe someday books may be replaced. I am not so concerned about the book because book is also an instrument like technology, but it is not human face. So that's the point that I make. Book may be replaced. I have no issue, provided the eyesight is good enough to keep holding on to that. There will be other issues, but then Book is not a big deal. Book by technology, but not teacher by technology.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you?
Hi, good evening to all. Myself Samir. Hi, good evening to all. Hi, sir. Myself Samir. I'm representing my daughter. She's in grade 8. I just have one question because as expatriates, we do have some constraints like getting the information from the local language, the newspapers, like the current affairs, things in back home. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So I just want, is it which the constraints we can overcome with any other resources what we have over here? That's what my concern on that.
The biggest problem that I see today as compared to my times is an information overload. There is so much information available in the virtual domain that you need some guidance as to which information you should spend your time on. After all, time is not fungible. Time is what you have, 24 hours. So which information should you access? And that's where the importance of a mentor or a guide or a center, it helps you. That it allows you, enables you, it doesn't tell you should read this, but it enables you to seek the right information, the right approach to do it. I think today, the role of a mentor or a teacher has become even more important than earlier. Earlier it was teaching, now it is guiding. Where to access information, which information, how information, because he's been through that journey. And he will be in a better position to guide you. And hence it's important to have some sort of a guidance, otherwise you get lost in the myriad of information that you have. I in the first year that I appeared in the civil service in 1979, I qualified for the police service. I wanted to become an IS officer, which is considered to be better than the police service. I did, and the reason was a very peculiar one. I had so much knowledge here that I didn't know how to write it in half an hour. Second year I corrected it. Bang, I was there at the top. So it helps, because you require that guidance. And it's not, I keep telling people, please understand the difference between teaching and guidance. Teaching and mentorship. Teaching is telling you do this, do this, do this, do this. No. Guidance is enabling you to learn. It's totally different. The child becomes totally different. He starts learning on his own rather than being told you do this, 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 this. Okay? Any other question? Yes. Right here.
Sarah.
I think your mic is not on.
Myself Sarah, and I would like to ask which branch of civil service would you recommend if you had one more chance, considering every factor?
I think I mentioned it. If I were to be born again, I've written it very clearly. It's black and white. I can't go back on it. I've written very clearly. If I were to be born again, I'd like to be an IS officer all over, because of the sheer opportunities that it offers. I can't think of any service anywhere in the world where you can influence the lives of 350 million people. Give me one example. And this is the service that you offer. You, wonderful. Give the mic to her.
My name is Sarah and I study in grade 7. My question is, what are some of the challenges I might face if I aspire to become an IAS officer?
Sarah, first of all, God bless you. You are so articulate and so fluent. Not many children of your age are so fluent. There are huge challenges in becoming an IAS officer, and then while you're in service, there are huge challenges. There are social challenges, there are political challenges. Politicians sometimes may not let you do what you want to do. And there are huge problems that you face. There is always a financial constraint in doing things that you want to do. You want to do things, but you don't have the money to do that thing. You will have those constraints. You will have your own colleagues troubling you, which they did in my case as well. So you will have all those problems. But that's the fun of life. If you don't have challenges, what is the fun of life? Keep walking on a straight road. No. The road has to be unwieldy. And then you enjoy life. No? If it's a straight one, you won't like it. If you do everything the same thing over and over again, won't you feel bored? No? So it's a very interesting journey. It's a tough one, very interesting. Go for it. Any other question?
Anyone else? Good morning, parents. This is an interactive session. Go on.
You can ask a question in Malayalam as well. I don't understand it, so let's translate. Yes.
Myself Jay Kumar. Having son here is a great man. First of all, it's a pleasure listening to you. Very informative, and thanks to the IAS for organizing this open session. The question what I have is, you told about your back stream, which you were able to kind of achieve and accomplish. I think, I'm not generalizing the statement, but many of the parents will have that thing, and that's why a lot of people are here in this room. At this age, I cannot imagine or think about a child who's having that thing. Maybe a few will have that, but obviously there is a change with the parents, and that's why we are all here. At what stage of that life, or maybe with the support of PIAs or with this coaching and all this stuff, there will be an inflection point which we come to know that the child is prepared for this or not prepared for this. What would be that time which we would be knowing, or the child would be knowing that he or she is prepared for this?
It will take a bit of time. It will take at least 4 to 5 years before you start understanding whether he's cut out for civil service. But you don't have to worry about it, I tell you why. And this is important for each one of you sitting here. What is important is not the IAS. What is important is how is he evolving as a person. If he evolves as a person who's improving his communication skills, you can rest assured, even if he doesn't want to become an IAS officer, he'll succeed in life. Because what matters in life is not IAS. I know so many IAS officers who are terrible in their lives. That's not. What matters is that they succeed in life. IAS is an instrument through which you can. But that's not my ultimate aim was not IAS. Ultimate aim was to do well in life, to be recognized, to recognize myself as a person to be reckoned with. IAS gives you that opportunity, and hence I talk about IAS because of my personal experience. What is most important and which I found good in the IAS was that they are enabling children to improve upon certain skill sets which are very important for life. So most important is skill sets, not IAS. Don't worry about IAS at this point in time. If he develops these 3 faculties that are mentioned there, then you can rest assured that he will succeed in life. Whether he gets into the IAS or not, that's a different matter. In all probability, he will. But even if he doesn't matter because there's so many factors. I don't know, we may end up with some problem there with the civil service. Don't worry about it. Each one of you should wonder, and I'm sure you will be very concerned, about how your child evolves as an individual. That's most important. And to evolve in that manner, these 3 attributes are extremely important to the individual. I hope that answers your question. Yes.
My name is Fred. I want to ask you one question. Can you share one of your happiest moment in your life?
I was privileged to have very, very happy moments. It's very difficult. It's like children. If you have 3, 4 children, you say, which is your best child? You can't say it. All are good. But I've had amazing experiences. In fact, I call them my Bharat Ratnas in my book. Did you hear me? That moment was one of the finest moments in my life. An old lady on her deathbed is wishing the scheme, wishing me. What could I couldn't do anything, she couldn't do anything to me. The best thing that she did was to give me those wishes. So there will be very, very happy moments. Friends, I have looked life slightly differently. I have enjoyed every moment that I am in. I'm standing here talking to you, I'm enjoying this. I had a choice not to come here. But I come and interact with you all because I also realize about where is that girl? There you are. When you show, I felt kicked inside you. Here is the young minister who's good, proud to her parents, to everyone. That's good enough for me to come here. So it's not that you should have great moments. What you need is every moment that you will start enjoying it, you love it. So try and enjoy the moments that you are in. Past is set and one future, I don't know what's going to happen. I just enjoy it. Yes, beta. And I'll pass it on to you.
Good evening. My name is Anil. I'm studying in grade 5. And my question is, I get bored of things so fast, so what should I do?
Wonderful, wonderful. But you are very interesting. You know, I can go on and on chatting. You will never get bored. You will get bored, but I'll never get bored. It happens, it happens. I have a granddaughter of your age, almost your age, and they also get bored. Try and change things. Do this now, do something else. If you do the same thing over and over again, you will get bored. Keep changing. You can't change your mom and dad. They will remain the same. But you know, other you can change your book. These days, how can you get bored? Don't you have this? You have this?
Yes.
Your mom doesn't allow you to use it.
She does.
She does. She allows you. You must take it from her. No, keep. You know, there's so much entertainment in here. Positive entertainment, also negative entertainment. Choice is yours. You can choose. You must be having good friends. You know. Do you get bored with them? So speak to them. Good. I'm so glad you raised this question. God bless you. Okay. Any other question? Yes. I'm so glad youngsters are coming up with these wonderful questions and
Hi, my name is Avni. If you could choose any person that inspired you the most, who would it be and why?
Oh, my inspiration first came from my dad. Started with that. Then I had an uncle who was a very good cricket player. I became a cricketer myself, inspired by him. And then so on, not one. There are myriads of people who inspired me. But there were those that I had not met ever also inspired me, like Mahatma Gandhi. When I read my Experiments with Truth, it is an amazing book. I would suggest all youngsters, even the elders, should read it. Because he proves that a common man, with all his frailties and problems, could become a great man. You know, you talk of great people, but here is a person who was just like a common human being with his common frailties, and he became a great man. So there are many, many people who inspire me. Let me tell you very frankly, that young child who raised that question also inspires me. She's much younger to me, as old as my granddaughter, but she inspires me with what she says. So inspiration can come from anywhere. You just have to look around and you feel inspired. Okay? So wonderful to see youngsters speak out.
Hello, my name is Shri, and I'm from Kalki.
Can you hold your mic this way?
Yes. So, I get very anxious around something. Like in Tuesday I have exam, but the day before the exam also I'll be like looking at the
Keep the mic down, you speak out.
I will be looking at other stuff and not concentrating at all in something. Even if I put my mindset, how can I work? But it's still very since it's like gadgets, everything around the world makes me like look at it and not concentrate. So how you said you wanted to speak out loud. So what is the best solution for it?
First of all, don't worry about it. It happens with everybody. You ask other children sitting in there, they will say, I get distracted when I see their eyes. Even, old men like me also get distracted. So everyone gets distracted. So don't worry about it. First of all, it happens. It's very natural. That's the first step overcoming it. Since you are conscious about it, you are worried about it, you are into it. Get it out of your mind. It happens with everybody. So what? I'm looking here. She asked me, she gets bored. You know why? Because she's looking at only one thing. You are worried because you're looking at many things. It happens with everybody. Everyone has a problem. So don't worry about it. Secondly, what is happening perhaps is you are not enjoying what you're doing. If you enjoy anything, like if you have a dear friend and if you're talking to her, you won't feel distracted. You feel distracted something which you don't like. No? It happens with everybody. There are elder people sitting here, when they go to their girlfriends, when they're sitting with them, they're not distracted with anything. Are they? They won't be distracted. So distraction is an outcome of your inability to love things that you are with, that you're doing. So for example, when I'm watching an India-Pakistan cricket match, even my wife doesn't disturb me. Because she knows I won't even listen to her. She stopped. In the beginning, she used to call out, I used to be totally oblivious of whether she existed. It's like meditation to me. So, if you start liking anything, So develop a liking for whatever you want to do. Once you develop that liking, a distraction will go. But don't worry about the distraction, it's very natural. Everyone gets distracted. So don't worry about it. Okay? God bless you. Yes, Beta. Oh, you're loud enough. Keep the mic aside. Yeah, good. Speak up.
I am Vinayak and I study in 6th and I reside in Annaga. My question is that how do you develop your curiosity?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I'm curious to know how do you develop your curiosity. You know, your curiosity comes from things you don't know and you want to know. That's what curiosity is. And I'm sure you must be curious because you're curious to know the answer to your question. That's curiosity. That's what curiosity is. It starts from this first question that you asked. You are curious to understand what curiosity is. That's curiosity. So you're already curious. It's not developing. You are already curious. You're asking me this question. If you were not curious, you would ask me this question. So that's curiosity for you. Okay? So the more you start understanding and learning, the more you want to know the other things about it. And that's what curiosity is all about. Right?
Hello.
Oh. Okay. Yes. Anybody else? Yes. Right at the back. Can you take the mic there?
Sir, as you said before, your father was your guidance. I know I need to hear your mother support. Your mother's support was always there because, see, I want to make my son, his name is Gautam. So, from your point of view only, I'm a father. I want to be a IAS officer, Gautam IAS. So, what advices you can give to all of these mothers? Like, maybe your mother also guided in such a way that. So, can you?
You know, I must confess that I'm not equipped to advise mothers because mothers are mothers. They don't need advice. They always think the best of their child. I have yet to find a mother on this earth who doesn't think best of her child. So I don't think I'm in a position to advise the mothers. I'm sure every mother wants to do the best for the children. It is for the children to reciprocate and fulfill the dreams of their parents. So all the children that are sitting here, you owe it to your parents, as I did, to fulfill the dreams of your parents. So you should fulfill the dreams of your father by studying hard, working hard, seeking the right guidance. Okay? And I'm sure you'll succeed. Yes.
Hi, sir. My name is Matthews. I came on behalf of my son Jeremy. So while I was in college, IAS was something unreachable for me. But there was nobody to guide. But that was long, like 25 years back. But with globalization and new careers on the reach for our kids, there are a lot of other opportunities everywhere in the world that they can aspire for. And with the deterioration of politics in India, what we have learned from media is that the politicians are misruling or misguiding or taking advantage of the civil service or the more educated people who are in civil service. So how do you think that the Modi generation should realistically keep on their aspiration to become a civil servant?
Becoming a civil servant or not becoming a civil servant is a personal choice. You have to decide. But let me tell you with experience of 37 years, and by the way, I worked very closely with Mr. Narendra Modi. I was secretary to Mr. Kalyan Singh, who was Chief Minister of UP. I was special secretary to Mayawati ji, who was also Chief Minister of UP. So I worked with top politicians. So it is wrong to blame politicians for all the ills of the society. Yes, there are as many good, bad, ugly politicians as there are civil servants or in the society. I did face problems. It's not that I didn't face problems with them. But if you are an upright and efficient civil servant, you can get away with it. I did get away with it. As I said, I may have had some problems with some politicians, and it would come out in my 4th book, Managing Indian Politicians. That's the 4th book I'm writing. So I don't think politicians are an issue in India. We are a proud democracy, and like any democracy, there would be problems there, here and there. I think if you are an upright and efficient officer, you are going to be able to do it. But if it comes to a choice whether you want to become a civil servant or not, that's a very personal choice. My personal choice will still be to be an IAS officer if I can, because I think I can manage it. There are a few things incorrigible. This is one. So I think it should be disbanded. Yes, ma'am. I'll come around.
Hi, my name is Fatima. I'm in 10th grade. And sometimes I have this anxiety under talking in front of people. Like even now I have. Like while doing seminar, even with my classmates, I sometimes get nervous, and I stutter now. Like I'm still stuttering. So what are your tips, can you say some tips like, to talk in front of people?
Very simple. Very simple. Every morning, stand up in front of a mirror with nobody around. Start reading aloud from the newspaper. Do it regularly for next 3 months. Then you can message me, sir, the other day you told me I'm okay now. Do that slowly, quietly, without being conscious of anybody around. Do it for 3-4 months, you will overcome it. It's very simple. It's not very difficult. Slowly, but loudly. Read it aloud. You'll be able to overcome. You will grow in confidence as well. Your confidence goes when you are conscious of the fact that you slur. And that's where the problem is. Don't worry about it. It's curable and you'll be able to. You'll be right? God bless you. God bless you. Any other question? Yeah. Oh. Today morning I walked a lot, so I'm walking again. I'm not sure if I'm audible. You are, but I think for the audience you can use this mic. The other one doesn't. Yeah.
Thank you. Being part of the non-resident community, being away from India for quite some time, and I'm sure even the kids that have been, most of the kids that here from grade KG1 and grade 12 here. And most of the time I've seen with people who've been part of the world for a long time, when kids are in grade 12 and it's time for them, the opportunities back in India for further education is huge. Whereas, obviously here it's very limited. But then, when it's time for them to decide that we need to send the kids back, the parents are not ready to go back to India, but they want to stay here. And there's a big fear because of the various socio-economic, other political, and various other reasons, where two challenges. One, the first kid itself who's been founded for the last 12, 14, 15 years is he has a fear in how do I go back to India? Because he has never been to this market before. Secondly, the parents have a fear in this, that I'm going to be here and I'm going to send my kids all alone back in India, in Bangalore, Hyderabad, India, how are you going to manage this situation all alone? So from your point of view, where you spend your time in India, how do you think we as an expat can best manage this kind of situation?
First of all, India is still a very, very lovely place to be in. I'm proud of being an Indian. I'm proud of being in India. Yes, there are problems as there would be in any country. There are problems. The misfortune is that we tend to generalize what appears in newspapers. Okay, newspapers, news is by definition an exception. Otherwise it won't be news. No? But we treat that news as a general thing. So if there is some blast somewhere in the country, we think that the whole country is on fire. It is not so. I think country is a very safe place to live. It's the quality of higher education is improving by the day. There are some absolutely brilliant universities there. So it's very safe, good and comfortable. So you must visit the country once or twice, visit some of these universities and colleges. You will discover that it's a very safe and nice place to be in. education-wise, I think higher education is improving by the day. I've seen it from very close quarters. So first you have to remove that misapprehension that you have in your mind before you do it to the child, because he's never been there. He's getting this impression from the news. Unfortunately, some of the news channels in India, quite a few of them, India wants to know, the nation wants to know all negative things. It's not so. I mean, since we like masala, they offer us masala. All negative things. I'm digressing a bit. Post-retirement, I started a movement called Nexus of Good. What is this Nexus of Good? I have set up a foundation to identify good things that are happening in the country, to provide a platform for propagating what good work is happening. Because we don't talk about good work. Everyone is so negative, and everyone tends to become negative then. There is a lot of beautiful things happening in India. I would suggest you make a visit, go around the country. I am not saying it's become heavenly, but it's really good. I spend my lifetime there. I travel all over the world, and I see the other part of the world. I think the personal connect that we have in India doesn't exist anywhere in the world. Personally, individually, how we approach each other. So there are so many beautiful things. So first, get rid of that, and objectively visit yourself and go down to some of these colleges and universities. Take your child with you. He will understand also that it's as comfortable as here. In fact, it's not as humid in India as here, as I saw today. You have all the weathers. You have here you have only one weather. So like different weathers, you have different people, different cultures, different languages. It's a wonderful place to be in. I had an option to go out. I didn't. World Bank offered me an assignment of $1,000 a day. I didn't go out. I enjoyed being there, and I still enjoy being there. I also enjoy coming here. So that's how life is. Okay.
My name is Rajiv. So these days, many parents, their children, they are sending to abroad for university. Even simple MBA also is taken from abroad. What is your opinion? Because one thing, abroad study is making a big financial the burden. It's even recently I was traveling to Bangalore. I met 2-3 children. They are going to the MBA for an interview. But I asked them how much you spent. They are telling 40 to 50 lakhs. 40 to 50 lakhs. I don't know what is their intention. A simple MBA.
Again, going abroad is a personal choice. You have the money, you can send it abroad. I'm not against it. But I think we have lovely colleges, all the IIMs. Now you have Indian School of Business, Xavier's College. There are many, many good management schools within the country. So again, as I said, it's a personal choice. I'm not against people going abroad and doing their MBAs. If you have money in your pocket, you send your children abroad and let them study. But those that can't afford it, I think there are wonderful colleges within India and you can study there. I'm sorry, we've run out of time. It was a wonderful interaction with all of you. I wish I could continue for all times to come. But as all things should run, thank you very much. Thank you.